first thing the woman did after being reborn was to set her house on fire. Then she locked the door with a key, intending to burn her husband and best friend alive inside. The reason for her hatred was that in her previous life, she was killed by the two of them working together. In her previous life, the woman gave up her job as a translator at a state-owned factory to stay home and support her husband and raise their children. But unexpectedly, 5 years later, she was suddenly diagnosed with a terminal illness. The selfish mother-in-law, in order to save on medical expenses, actually locked the woman in the woodshed to fend for herself. In despair, the woman begged her best friend to rescue her, but the friend only laughed and said she brought it upon herself. It was only then that the woman realized her friend had long been colluding with her husband. The reason the woman fell ill was because her friend and mother-in-law had been poisoning her food for a long time, and even the child she had raised since childhood was the illegitimate child of her friend and husband. In the end, the woman closed her eyes in regret and unwillingness, and when she opened them again, she was reborn 5 years earlier. But before she could figure out the situation, her mother-in-law came forward with a bowl of herbal medicine. In the previous life, her mother-in-law falsely claimed it was a fertility aid and forced the woman to drink it every day. But in fact, it was a sterilization drug, because only by preventing the woman from having children would she willingly adopt the illegitimate child of her husband and best friend. Thinking of this, the woman falsely claimed she would drink it later and tried to get her mother-in-law to leave, but the mother-in-law sat down immediately. She had heard that the woman had just received a housing allocation, and since the woman and her husband didn't lack a house, she suggested giving the allocation to the younger brother-in-law, as he was about to get married and urgently needed a marital home. The woman let out a cold laugh upon hearing this. In her previous life, her house was taken over by her brother-in-law, who used it for gambling gatherings, resulting in her being fined a huge amount and eventually having nowhere to stay. Living again, she would never let this family of ingrates take advantage of her.
The unit quota is for employees and cannot be sold or given away. If discovered, there will be penalties and fines.
Seeing that the woman didn't agree, the mother-in-law became furious. Since the woman wouldn't let her have her way, she decided to teach her a lesson today. As she spoke, the mother-in-law dragged the woman to the courtyard and pretended to hang herself in front of the woman. Seeing that the mother-in-law was reluctant to die, the woman quickly ran over, hugged the mother-in-law's legs, and pulled down with all her might. With the woman's enthusiastic help, the mother-in-law soon started sticking out her tongue from being strangled. Seeing that the mother-in-law was about to be strangled to death, the neighbors heard the noise and rushed over. With many hands helping, they quickly rescued the mother-in-law. The woman, worried that the mother-in-law would come to, hurriedly brought the poison she hadn't drunk earlier, and before the mother-in-law could refuse, poured it directly into her mouth. With the woman's actions, the mother-in-law was soon revived. But just as the mother-in-law was about to make a scene, the woman suddenly took the lead in playing the victim, saying that she'd handed over all her wages to her mother-in-law over the years, but the mother-in-law turned around and gave the money to her brother-in-law. She pitifully mentioned that her monthly salary was 80 yuan, yet she hadn't eaten a piece of meat for 3 years straight.